Dr. Maya Chen pressed her ear against the cold metal of the radio telescope's control panel, listening to the familiar hum of machinery that had become her lullaby over the past 3 years. The Arecibo Successor facility in Puerto Rico was quieter now at 2:47 a.m., with only the night shift skeleton crew and the persistent chirping of coqui frogs breaking the silence. "Still here, Maya." Dr. Rodriguez, the facility director, appeared in the doorway with 2 steaming cups of coffee. His weathered face showed concern mixed with admiration. "The signal's getting stronger," Maya said, not looking up from her screens. Lines of data cascaded down like digital rain, each number representing a whisper from the cosmos. "I know everyone thinks I'm chasing ghosts, but this isn't random noise. There's a pattern here." Rodriguez set down the coffee and studied the waveforms. After 30 years in radio astronomy, he'd seen countless researchers become obsessed with signals that turned out to be satellite interference, microwave ovens, or simply the universe's natural static. But Maya was different. She had an intuition about the cosmos that reminded him of his younger self. "The review board meets next week," he said gently. "If you can't provide concrete evidence of extraterrestrial origin, they're going to reassign you to the Pulsar project." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she reached for the coffee. 3 years ago, she'd been a rising star in the field, her doctoral thesis on gravitational wave detection earning her a coveted position at the facility. But then she detected something extraordinary during a routine deep space survey. A signal that repeated every 37 hours, 14 minutes, and 33 seconds, with mathematical precision that screamed intelligence. The problem was, no one else could hear it. "I've checked every possible source of interference," Maya said, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "I've mapped solar wind patterns, tracked satellite trajectories, even monitored local radio stations. This signal is coming from 847 light-years away, from the direction of the Kepler 442 system. Maya, you need to consider the possibility that I'm wrong, that I'm delusional, that 3 years of my life have been wasted on a phantom." Maya's voice cracked. "I've considered it every single day. But what if I'm right? What if there's a civilization out there trying to communicate with us, and I'm the only one listening?" Rodriguez sighed. He'd had this conversation before with brilliant minds who'd let their passion consume them. "Show me something new. Something that will convince the board." Maya turned back to her screens, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I've been working on a new approach. Instead of just analyzing the signal itself, I've been looking at the gaps between signals. Look at this." She pulled up a visualization that showed the signal pattern over the past year. Between each transmission, there was a period of silence, but those silent periods weren't random. They followed a mathematical sequence. "It's the Fibonacci sequence," Maya whispered, pointing to the pattern. "The gaps between signals follow the Fibonacci sequence. But not just any Fibonacci sequence, it's accelerating, as if whoever is sending this is trying to get our attention." Rodriguez leaned closer, his skepticism wavering. "You're saying they're shortening the gaps on purpose?" "Exactly. They started with standard Fibonacci intervals, but over the past year, they've been compressing the timeline. It's like they know we're listening and they're trying to establish a communication protocol." The next morning, Maya arrived at the facility to find her access card deactivated. She stood at the entrance, watching her colleagues file past with sympathetic glances, until Rodriguez appeared. "I'm sorry, Maya. Dr. Hawthorne from the Oversight Committee called an emergency meeting. Someone leaked your data to the media, and now we've got reporters calling every hour asking about alien signals. The board voted to suspend your project immediately." Maya's world tilted. "Leaked? I haven't told anyone except..." She stopped, realization hitting her like a physical blow. Dr. Pemberton. Her former mentor, Dr. James Pemberton, had been the only person she'd shared her latest findings with. He'd been supportive, encouraging, even helping her refine her mathematical models. But Maya now remembered his pointed questions about publication rights and his recent financial troubles. "The story's already running on 3 major science blogs," Rodriguez continued. "They're calling it the signal that divides science and painting you as either a visionary or a cautionary tale about confirmation bias. Maya felt her knees buckle. 3 years of work, 3 years of hope, reduced to clickbait headlines. Can I at least collect my personal files? I'm sorry. Everything stays here pending review. But Maya. Rodriguez lowered his voice. I believe you found something. I can't say that officially, but I've seen the data. Keep fighting. That afternoon, Maya sat in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the single page of calculations she'd taken home weeks earlier. It was all she had left of her discovery. Her phone buzzed with calls from reporters, job offers from tabloid magazines, and messages from former colleagues either offering support or distancing themselves from the controversy. But among the chaos, one message stood out. It was from Dr. Sarah Kim, a graduate student in Seoul who'd been following Maya's work through unofficial channels. Dr. Chen, I've been analyzing publicly available data from other radio telescopes. I think I found something you need to see. Can we video chat? Sarah's face appeared on Maya's laptop screen at midnight, her excited expression illuminated by the glow of multiple monitors in her university lab. I've been working with students at 5 other universities, Sarah said, her English accented but clear. We've been quietly monitoring the same coordinates you were tracking, using smaller telescopes and student observation time. Maya leaned forward. And? We found it. The signal. It's not just from one location. It's from 3 different points in space, all in the same general region. They're coordinating, Dr. Chen. It's like they're trying to triangulate our position. Maya's heart raced. Show me. Sarah shared her screen, revealing data collected from telescopes in South Korea, Australia, Chile, and 2 universities in the United States. The pattern was undeniable. 3 distinct sources, all following the same Fibonacci timing, but with slight variations that suggested intentional coordination. There's more, Sarah continued. My friend Carlos in Chile noticed that the signals get stronger during certain astronomical alignments. When Earth is positioned between the signal sources and the galactic center, the transmissions increase in power by exactly 23%. They're compensating for galactic interference, Maya whispered. They understand our position relative to the galaxy and they're adjusting their transmissions accordingly. Over the following weeks, Maya found herself at the center of an informal network of researchers, students, and amateur astronomers around the world. They called themselves the listeners, and they operated in the shadows of official academia, sharing data through encrypted channels and coordinating observations across time zones. Dr. Akira Tanaka, a retired radio astronomer from Japan, became their unofficial coordinator. He'd lost his position years earlier for pursuing similar fringe research, but his experience proved invaluable. The key, Tanaka explained during one of their encrypted video conferences, is patience. If this is real, if there's truly an intelligence behind these signals, they're playing a long game. We need to think in terms of decades, not months. But Maya's savings were running out. She'd taken a job at a local electronics store to pay rent, working night shifts so she could continue her research during the day. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd gone from listening to the cosmos to selling cell phones to teenagers. 6 months after her suspension, Maya was working alone in her apartment when she noticed something that made her blood freeze. The signal had changed. Not just the timing, but the structure itself. She called Sarah immediately, despite the time difference. Sarah, wake up. Look at the data from the past 48 hours. Sarah's sleepy voice came through the phone. Maya. It's 3 a.m. here. What's wrong? The signal. It's not repeating anymore. It's evolving. Within an hour, Sarah was at her university lab, confirming what Maya had discovered. The signal had shifted from a simple repeating pattern to something far more complex. It was still following mathematical principles, but now it was incorporating prime numbers, then moving to more advanced mathematical concepts. It's like they're teaching us, Sarah breathed. They're starting with basic math and building up complexity. Carlos from Chile joined the call, followed by Dr. Tanaka and others from their network. They watched in real time as the signal began transmitting what appeared to be visual information, mathematical descriptions of geometric shapes. It's a picture, Maya realized. They're sending us a picture, but they're building it mathematically because they know we understand math. The image took 2 weeks to complete, transmitted in segments that required the network to coordinate observations across multiple continents. When they finally assembled all the pieces, the result was stunning. It was a star map. Not just any star map, but a precise representation of the local galactic neighborhood, with 3 points highlighted, the sources of the signals. And at the center of the map was a 4th point, marked with a distinctive symbol, Earth's position. They know exactly where we are, Dr. Tanaka said quietly. This isn't random contact. They've been studying us. The breakthrough came with an unexpected cost. Someone in their network had leaked the new data, and now Maya found herself at the center of a media storm that made her previous coverage look like a whisper. Government agencies began asking questions. The military expressed interest. Conspiracy theorists and religious groups added their voices to the chaos. But worst of all, several major observatories announced they were launching their own investigations, threatening to crowd out the small network that had made the discovery. We need to move fast, Maya told the group during an emergency video conference. If the big institutions take over, we'll lose control of the narrative. And if governments get involved. We need proof they can't ignore, Sarah interrupted. Something so definitive that it forces them to acknowledge our work. Maya had been thinking the same thing. The signals were becoming more sophisticated each day, but they still lacked the one element that would convince the skeptics, intentional communication. We need to respond, Maya said. We need to show them we're listening. The idea was controversial. Several members of the network worried about the implications of actively communicating with an unknown intelligence. But Maya argued that the entities behind the signals had already demonstrated their awareness of Earth's position and were clearly trying to establish contact. Using a combination of smaller radio telescopes and carefully timed transmissions, the network began sending a response. They started with simple mathematical acknowledgements, confirming that they'd received and understood the transmitted star map. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within 72 hours, the signals changed again. This time, the mathematical progression became more complex, incorporating concepts from advanced physics and astronomy. But more importantly, the transmissions began to include corrections and clarifications to the data Earth had sent back. They're having a conversation with us, Maya whispered, staring at the data streams. They're actually talking to us. The breakthrough Maya had been waiting for came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a respected physicist from the European Space Agency, had been quietly monitoring the situation. When the interactive nature of the signals became undeniable, she published a paper in the Journal of Theoretical Physics that validated the network's findings. The evidence suggests we are witnessing humanity's first confirmed contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence, Dr. Vasquez wrote. The mathematical sophistication and adaptive nature of these signals cannot be explained by natural phenomena or human interference. The publication changed everything. Within days, major observatories around the world confirmed the signals. The Nobel Committee issued a statement acknowledging the discovery's significance. And Maya found herself invited to speak at a special session of the United Nations. But the moment Maya treasured most came when Dr. Rodriguez called her personally. Maya, I owe you an apology. The facility wants you back. Not just back, they want you to head the new Department of Extraterrestrial Communication. Full funding, unlimited resources, and a team of your choosing. Maya stood on her apartment balcony, looking up at the stars that had become her companions during the darkest months of her life. I'll consider it, but I have conditions. Name them. Sarah Kim gets a full fellowship. Carlos gets funding for his research. Dr. Tanaka gets an official position. Everyone who stood by me when the institution failed gets recognition. Done. 2 years later, Maya stood before the largest radio telescope array ever constructed, built specifically for the purpose of communicating with the intelligence they'd discovered. The signals had evolved into something resembling a language, and Maya's team had learned to interpret basic concepts. The entities, they called themselves the coordinators, had revealed that they were part of a vast network of civilizations spread across the galaxy. They'd been monitoring Earth for centuries, waiting for humanity to develop the technology and wisdom necessary for contact. But the most remarkable revelation came in the form of a message that took weeks to decode. It was addressed not to humanity as a whole, but to Maya personally. "We have been watching the one who persists," the message read, translated through the mathematical language they developed. "Many of your species detect our signals, but most abandon the search when their communities doubt. You continued when others stopped. You listened when others refused to hear. This is why we chose to respond." Maya wiped tears from her eyes as she read the complete message. The coordinators explained that they'd been sending signals to thousands of civilizations across the galaxy, but most never achieved sustained contact because individuals gave up when faced with skepticism and institutional resistance. "Persistence is the universal constant," the message continued. "Intelligence is common. Wisdom is rare. But the willingness to continue in the face of doubt, this is the trait that separates civilizations that join the galactic community from those that remain isolated." Dr. Maya Chen stood at the podium of the Global Conference on Extraterrestrial Communication, looking out at an audience that included Nobel laureates, world leaders, and the brightest minds in science. But in the front row sat the faces that mattered most to her. Sarah Kim, now Dr. Kim, leading the Asian branch of the Communication Project. Carlos Mendez, whose observations had proved crucial to understanding the coordinator's technology, and Dr. Tanaka, whose patient wisdom had kept the network together during its darkest hours. 5 years ago, I was a failed researcher working night shifts at an electronics store, Maya began, her voice carrying clearly through the auditorium. I had spent 3 years chasing a signal that no one else could hear, and I had lost everything. My position, my reputation, my future. She paused, looking up at the ceiling where a real-time display showed the ongoing communication with the coordinators. I could have given up. Everyone told me to give up. The evidence suggested I should give up. But I had learned something that night, listening to the cosmos in my tiny apartment. The universe rewards persistence. Not intelligence, not luck, not even hard work, persistence. Maya clicked to her next slide, showing the network of radio telescopes that now span the globe, all dedicated to the ongoing communication project that had revolutionized humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The coordinators have taught us that throughout the galaxy, civilizations rise and fall not based on their technology or their intelligence, but on their willingness to persist in the face of the unknown. They've shown us that hope is not just an emotion, it's a survival trait. She advanced to the final slide, showing the star map that had started it all, now annotated with the locations of 47 different civilizations in ongoing communication with Earth. Today, we stand on the threshold of joining a galactic community that has existed for millions of years. We earned our place not through conquest or cleverness, but through the simple act of refusing to give up. We listened when others stopped listening. We hoped when hope seemed foolish. We persisted when persistence seemed pointless. Maya looked directly at the cameras broadcasting her speech to billions of viewers around the world. The universe is vast and often silent. But it rewards those who keep listening. It rewards those who refuse to give up hope. And it rewards those who persist, even when they stand alone in the darkness, believing in something greater than themselves. As applause filled the auditorium, Maya thought about that night 3 years ago when she'd sat in her apartment with nothing but a single page of calculations and a dream that seemed impossible. She thought about the moment when she'd almost given up, when the weight of doubt and ridicule had nearly crushed her spirit. But she had persisted. She had refused to give up hope. And in doing so, she had changed the course of human history. The signal from the stars continued to pulse in the darkness, a reminder that somewhere in the vast cosmos, other voices were calling out, waiting for someone with the courage to answer. And thanks to one woman's refusal to give up, humanity was finally ready to listen. The last words of the coordinator's most recent message appeared on screens throughout the auditorium. Welcome to the conversation, persistent ones. The universe has been waiting for you. Maya smiled, knowing that the real adventure was just beginning. The universe was vast, full of wonders yet to be discovered, and all it required was the willingness to keep searching, keep hoping, and never, ever give up. Be persistent and never give up hope. The universe rewards those who refuse to surrender to doubt, and the greatest discoveries await those who continue listening when others stop. Thanks for watching. Kindly like and subscribe.